Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. Today, we are looking at what does Halloween actually mean and how it has got warped over the years to be more horror-based and fear-based. We also go into reclaiming the word witch, and also, do you do spells? Hello, you wonderful, powerful, sensual being, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you have been enjoying autumn so far. Oh my gosh, just seeing when the sun comes out and shines on those beautiful leaves that are changing colours, and just the colours are just magnificent. If you've not taken the time to look at them, look around you. Trees are all around us, and I think we forget that, particularly if you live in a city as well. You can think that there's, no nature anywhere, but there is. There always is, so long as we actually look for it and we can then honor it as well. Our episode today is very festive, very seasonal, very much connected to Halloween, Samhain, Hallows Eve, Festival of Remembrance, Feast of the Dead, Day of the Dead, all of this juicy stuff. But why is this so important? Well, I think Halloween gets quite a bad rap, and it's becoming, particularly in the UK, so much more popular now. And I remember when I was in America, I was in Florida when I was a kid. So we're going back like 30 years, probably about 30 years. And when I was out there for about this time of year, and Halloween was everywhere. Oh my God, it was everywhere. Everything was Halloween everywhere. But it just wasn't like that when I was a kid in the UK. Now, we did sort of have Halloween, but it just wasn't like it is now. Now, it is like America has landed in the UK when it comes to Halloween. But the interesting thing is that Halloween isn't actually what it is. So it's really been mixed in with a lot of like demonic, horror, fear-based. I mean, the media do love their fear-based things, don't they, as we know. But it's really been linked in with so much like fear and horror. But actually, that isn't what Halloween is actually about. I mean, everyone has their own rituals of like what things mean to them, which is all fine. You do you and I'll do me. But I don't want to forget the importance of this time of year, and the reason why it's so important. It's being able to sit in the darkness. We welcome in the darker nights, and particularly if you're in a country like the UK, which has would it be called daylight saving when it goes to this time of year? So the clocks go back, and that means that we get a little bit more light in the morning, but it's darker earlier in the evening. And with this, it's very unwelcomed by so many people. And it's such a shame because the darkness is not something to be feared. I know we don't get enough sunlight in this country. Don't ever underestimate the importance of meditating and visualizing the sun. The power of our own mind through visualization is huge. For one, you're bringing in the spirit of the sun to yourself whilst you're visualizing. But also, don't forget how powerful we are. If we all grouped together and did this, we'd probably manifest the sun to come out. You might think, Jolene, she's off again. But yeah, I am off again because I'll never be not doing this. I will never be sharing my voice, particularly if it can wake up a part of you that maybe has been a bit dormant all of your life, or maybe you remember a time when you used to think that you had more inner power. Maybe you remember this as a child, and you remember that you could be anything and do anything. And we want to get that feeling back. We want to get it back. And it feels like we're always going against the grain when we're doing this as an adult. And I'm sure you all agree with me. Why shouldn't we think that we are all powerful beings? Why not? Why not? So, like I said, I feel like Halloween gets quite a demonic reputation. I was going to say bad reputation, but bad doesn't necessarily mean you don't like it. Bad just means it's, in my head, it's being taken away from the real reason why we celebrated Hallows Eve. So when we come to this time of year, particularly at dawn and at dusk, they say the veil is thinner. Now, what do I mean by the veil? I mean that connection to the other world, to the unseen world, to the spirit realm. That veil is a little bit thinner. So at this time of year, this is why on our altars we sometimes put pictures of our loved ones who are passed, because we can maybe feel their presence is closer at this time of year. And this is what I find so bizarre, right? So I find it really bizarre how we've been kind of like, I mean, I used to always be petrified of the dark. As soon as the lights were off, I didn't want to open my eyes because I was too scared. And I was scared of ghosts. I was scared of seeing a ghost. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying all ghosts are good, but what I'm saying is generally, the ghosts that you are going to bring in around you are probably the people that you love or loved, and pets that have passed. And I'm sorry, what's not to love or not be scared about? I mean, if I saw a ghost of my dad, why would I be scared? It's my dad. I know him. So this whole thing of being so scared of ghosts, I mean, I know we see like ghost hunts, and I remember growing up with Most Haunted, and God knows if that was ever real or not. I just don't know anymore. But we're brought up with this type of like, oh, haunted house, it's so scary. Now, I'm not saying that every soul that you'd see in a ghost form is kind, but it's actually, I'm going on really broad, as in the people that you love. Why would you be scared of seeing them as a ghost? Where has this come from? Why is it there? It's not real. That fear is not real. This time of year a lot of it is about connecting with spirits. Now, I'm not talking about doing a Ouija board, because you really have to be careful about how you go about this. Now, when you do a Ouija board, most people just don't know what they're doing, and I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, to be honest. So it's respecting the unseen world as well. And it's when we go to these places that are so-called haunted, those spirits are not there for our entertainment. They're really not. I don't know why this seems to be like an entertainment thing as well. Like, they're not there for our entertainment. I kind of feel like I wonder if we can go and help them. Help them pass over. Have they got stuck? Is there a message that they need to get out to the world? What is it? Do they just need to be released? I don't know. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that a lot of the time we're scared of ghosts, and I don't think we need to be. I really, really don't. When you start to tap in to your inner wisdom, your higher consciousness, you start to realize that you are actually surrounded by a lot of love, a lot of support. You're supported by, whether it be angels, guardians, maybe relatives who are around you, maybe even pets that are around you. Those souls, whilst they cross over, they haven't left us. They haven't left us. And it's important to realize that this is not something to be feared. It's something to be treasured. It really, really is. Also, what we can find with Halloween is a lot of people connect it to like hell and things like that. Now, where exactly hell has come from, I don't know. But we could link it to the Norse queen of the underworld, Helene's. And you kind of find that in recent times, there has been a lot of superstition. There's been a lot of fear-based things that have been created around this theme about the darkness and how evil it is, when actually it never was. It can be about sitting in the dark, ready to rebirth. It's a bit like trees that shed their leaves at this time of year, and then they go into a time of darkness to then rebirth with blossom and new leaves and fruits and nuts in the springtime. And that's very much us. So it's being able to sit in that time of darkness. And sometimes the darkness can actually be like at any point of your life, at any point of the year, when you go through some sort of major shock, upset, angry time, something that has sparked you off. Maybe you've lost somebody, maybe things have fallen apart. That would also be considered a time of darkness. And it doesn't mean that, oh, you'll only go through that in autumn. No, it can be any time. But the autumn will naturally invite a time of slowing down, a time of introspection, a time to sit back and to see how you are feeling in this moment. Where we are in spring and summer, it's very much about like quite a pushy energy, more so. You know, you're more on it. The days are longer with light, and there's more energy. Whereas at this time of year, we are going into a time of slowness. And I don't mean you have to stop everything. But what I'm saying is you might prioritize rest a little bit more. You might just prioritize a little bit of time to slow down. And that's okay. To try and go with the seasons is incredibly witchy. It really is. It really is. And it's knowing that when we give ourselves the time of rest, we come out of it at the other end. Like literally going to sleep at night is a time of darkness. And then when you wake up in the morning, you feel like literally your batteries are recharged. That's what it's about. So it's this time of coming into the dark, into the time of rest, and accepting that we are both light and dark. There is no just being happy all the time. It's nice to have that as your goal. If you're like, oh, I just want to be a happy person. Okay, that's brilliant. But don't neglect the fact that it's okay if you're unhappy sometimes. And it's that ebb and flow of life. It's the allowing the dark and the light to be a part of you. Because we never want to just push out one part of us. We want to make sure we are being whole in our state of being as best we can. And I know sometimes that is hard, but that is something that we need just to try and accept as part of us. So when it comes to like spirits and ghosts and things like that, what we can do at this time of year is, if you are worried about bad energy, do visualization where you surround yourself with light. You've got this like beacon of light coming out from you, or it's surrounding you. And allow that to literally protect you, because it's your aura that will need the protection, because then nothing can actually penetrate into that. Now, unfortunately, dark entities can kind of like grab onto you, particularly if you're in a very low vibrational state. So if you have gone through a time of upset, if you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling low, and you know that heavy feeling, if you're feeling like that, particularly if this is quite a continuous feeling, not just, oh, I've got upset today. No. I mean that if this is your like natural baseline of you feel quite low and you feel quite sad, or you feel quite sad or depressed or whatever it is, but that type of low feeling, if you feel like you've got that, you need to try and do stuff to help your body to come out of it. Now, when we change our state, we change our life. So if your brain is like, oh, this is shit, blah, 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 do something about it with your body. You don't even have to think about what your mind is thinking about. You're like, okay, mind, you do you. I'm going to do my body now. So do something with your body. Move it, exercise, shake it around, dance. It doesn't matter what you do. And it can, even if you do it for like 30 seconds, that could change everything, because you'll start to think, oh, I feel a bit different. And then maybe your mind can process better. Or maybe there was nothing for it to process and it's just on a downer. That's okay too. But moving your body in whatever way, shape or form will help your mind come out of this funk. Because when you are like this, your energy is so low, and dark entities, bad things can kind of attach onto it. And it's almost like when they attach on, you've almost got like no control over getting better. But when it's the awareness around this, when you start to realize this, you can do something about it. And another thing you can do to bring in a lot of light, obviously be careful with this one, but using candles. So the fire, the protection of the flame is so strong that can literally help surround your body with light, particularly if you maybe do a meditation looking at a candle, or just light a candle or two around you, particularly when it gets dark. If you feel like you need that extra protection, you can do that as well. So that's very big, particularly at this time of year, to actually light the fire or light candles. And it's very much, it does help with the protection. It helps with the comfort. And yeah, just see how it works for you. And this time of year as well, obviously, the word witch gets thrown around a lot more this time of year, which is what I wanted to talk to you about as well. So the word witch, if you feel like that's like a derogative slur, like, oh, you witch, think about why you're using it. Think about how you're using it. Think about if it triggers you and you don't really like it. Ask yourself why, because this could have come from roots that are so deep within you that you might not have even thought that they're there. So if you believe that you've lived other lives before and that your soul isn't actually new, you may have even been around during the witch hunts. And if you're bringing that energy forward in your life now, I don't blame you for being triggered by the word witch. Not at all. When women were being rounded up and burnt, I'm not surprised that gets carried forward within our lives. So during the medieval times, when the witch hunts were really, really going for it, I can't even imagine living at that sort of time, to be scared like that, to be scared to be you. And that is something that's very common in our lives now. We are scared to show up as we are and who we are. Like even this podcast and sharing my voice, it's a big deal. And it has triggered some people just by the fact that I'm sharing my voice. It seems to be, particularly among women, that is just something you just don't do. No, gosh, no. But it's there. That feeling is there. And when you think back to the times of the witch hunts, what were people being burnt for? So being a midwife, assisting on bringing life into this world, so bringing babies into this world, that was witchcraft. And it's like, but that's the most natural thing in the world. Also, healers, people who are able to give like medicines out and heal people, same thing. They were burnt. And you're like, this makes no sense. Absolutely no sense at all. And interestingly, we were taught always to fear the witches. And when you look at Disney films now and the witches that are in them, they're always so mean and so horrible and like manipulative, awful. But we were never taught to fear the men that were rounding them up and burning them. I mean, I'm sorry, if there was a group of men walking around the street now rounding up women to burn, I wouldn't even really take the time to know what those women did. The fact that there are these men that were quite happy to go round in groups, round up women and burn them, I'm like, who does that? Who does that? It's just so grim. And it's like, it feels like it comes back to the thing again of, like, say, women who get raped, and they're like, yes, but what were you wearing? Oh, you were wearing a short skirt. Well, you were asking for it. No, it's the same weird way we've been brought up. Weird things that we are either shamed for or scared about, which make no sense when you think about them. They make no sense at all. And I just find that really bizarre. And I would really like us to actually try and reclaim words back. For example, witch or mystique. These sort of words are so... They're used as an insult, which just is an insult in itself, just to use words like that. And if you feel triggered by the word witch, ask yourself why. Why is that? Maybe someone you didn't like at school used to always call you a witch, and yeah, that's going to trigger you. That's not nice. And I don't like to get too caught up on identities, as you know, because I feel like we are who we are. We don't have to name ourselves. But if you do want to try and describe yourself to somebody else, some ideas for you as well as witch could be earth guardian, earth goddess, siren. There are so many words. You can come up with your own. There's so many words that you can use to try and describe yourself. And I think it's really interesting because a lot of people might be like, yeah, well, I believe that I'm nature and that we can heal ourselves from the earth, but I'm not a witch. And it's like, okay, that's a bit like hearing someone who calls himself, oh, I'm a prostitute or I'm an escort, but I'm not a hooker or a hoe. You can't call me a cool girl. It's like, okay, they're all the same thing. Or the people who say, oh no, I don't like bondage, but I do like being tied up. It's like, okay. It's like, at the end of the day, if you don't want to identify yourself as a witch, that's fine, but don't demonize anybody else who does use that word, because at the end of the day, the word, it's about who you are and how you're showing up. So a witch really is somebody who believes that we are all connected to nature, that we can heal ourselves from the earth, like the earth's natural remedies. We can also heal the earth as well. And when I say we, I don't mean just witches, I mean humanity. We are people who, so when you're a healer, you're using natural remedies. If you're creating your vision in life, you're manifesting your life. If you are intuitive, if you are an oracle, if you are a seer, if you are guided by your intuition, that gut feeling, some things you just know and you don't know why you know, but you know, or you can see into the future, but you're not really sure how, but you just know that something is around that corner and you kind of know what it is and you get it right. And it's that inner knowing that you are powerful. It's that inner knowing that you remember as a child you were brought into this world as a powerful being. It's that inner knowing of connectedness. That's what makes a witch a witch. And I would pretty much say that pretty much everybody on this planet is a witch. Because of all these things, that's just so basic. And do you know what I really love? There's a book called Witch by Lisa Lister. And I love her description, okay, of the sorceress. The sorceress has the ability to change situations and manipulate. She's an alchemist. She's the mother who turns tears into laughter with a reassuring kiss. The friend who turns fear into ease with her words. The activist who changes thought into action. Yes, she can use her power to serve herself. She knows that when she serves herself, she is full and whole and able to serve she and the rest of the world. And I really like that, because there is a manipulation that we all have, but it's like using our powers for good. It's like manifesting is a form of manipulation. The word manipulation isn't a bad word, by the way. And it's like the word selfish isn't a bad word. A lot of the time it's how we are perceiving that word in that moment that can make it a bad word. So to say somebody is an alchemist is to say somebody has this like magical ability. You know, those people that just seem to win everything that they enter, things like that. That's an alchemist. They are manifesting their future. And that's what it comes down to as well with this sort of thing. And it's remembering, if you want to think of your tongue as your magic wand, because when you talk, what do you learn at school? You learn to spell. You learn spellings. The magic, a lot of the time, is not only in our thoughts. Our thoughts carry energy. But a lot of the magic is actually produced from our mouth to each other out into the world. So if you think about your tongue as being your magic wand and you're waving it around, how are you waving it around? How are you saying stuff? For example, like the songs that we sing. Are you singing songs which have uplifting lyrics? Or are you singing songs which have actually very low vibrational lyrics? And when you actually unpick the lyrics that you're singing, do you mean them? Because what you say is what you're manifesting. So wouldn't it be better to be using those sort of powers for something better? I find this fascinating, particularly when we look at how the mainstream is with media, artists, and how we put them up on a pedestal and everything, when actually we are all on the pedestal together. There's no one above us. There's no one below us. And this is where so many things that are wrong with the world, I feel, come in, because we look up to people. We look up to the wrong people sometimes. We put people up there. We think we're never as good as someone else because they're doing X, Y, and Z. No, that's just not true. It really, really isn't. And it's like, how do we use our words in the sense of saying things like, oh, I don't have the confidence for that. You do have confidence. But maybe you might want to choose to reframe that and say, no, I don't use my confidence for that. It's a bit like when you say, oh, I don't have the money for that. Actually, a lot of the time, not all, a lot of the time, you probably do have the money for that. But you're choosing not to use your money for that. That's a perfectly healthy statement, and that's okay. If you're like, well, actually, I do have the money for that, but I don't want to prioritize that. Yeah, and it comes down to it being your choice, which is another thing to really, really remember, that we have that choice. And it's that play on word. There are so many plays on words. So many. Like when you think of broadcasting networks on TV, broadcasting. So they're casting out spells on a broad basis, so wide basis. And I find that's mind-boggling. The weather forecast, so forecast, they're casting it out. And I don't really know with the weather forecast. We always say, oh, they never get it right. And I almost wonder if when they don't get it right, not enough people have looked it up or are watching it. because I kind of believe that when we all look at the weather forecast together, we manifest what they say is they're predicting. But actually, when not enough of us actually look at it, it's not happening. It's not happening to the way that they were planning it. Because I feel like there's a group manifestation going on with things like the weather forecast. It's an interesting one to think about. So allow yourself to go down the rabbit hole with that, even if it's just in your own psyche. You don't even have to look anything up to really think about some of this stuff. And start to think a little bit more for yourself on how different words are in our life and what they mean. For example, pharmaceuticals. Two things with that, just to get you started on this. Pharma sounds like farmer, as in big pharma sounds like the farmer who grows crops and harvests grain and, has dairy farms, farms, farmer and farmer. Also, the word harm is in pharmaceuticals as well. This is what I mean. This is a whole massive rabbit hole for you to go down. And you'll find, now that I've started you off on it, if you've not thought about it before, these words are going to keep coming to you and you're going to go, that sounds like this, or why would they say that? Oh, that's another one. And another one for the TV, just while we're on it, programming you as you watch it. Oh, another one. Oh God, nightmare. I will go in a minute. The news. When you watch the news, north, east, west, south. That's your news. And it's just like, it's like they're calling in the directions. Anyway, I will leave you there. There's so much there to unpack. Take on what works for you. If you want to reclaim the word witch, please do join me all the time. You can identify how you wish when it comes to being a witch, an earth guardian, but just know that you are nature and that you are powerful. Remember, as always, to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.